I talk about my diet and how I lost 110 pounds with diet because I'm a diet guy. But what did I do for activity? Like, what did I do? You want to know the lion's share of what I did? I walked. Doesn't mean I didn't lift, doesn't mean I didn't run, doesn't mean I didn't do other things. But the large majority of my activity was walking, simply walking. Now, I'm going to lay out the details of the benefits and why it's so advantageous when it comes down to preserving muscle and things like that. But first, we have to look at this paper that was recently published that is very daunting. It demonstrated that by the year 2030, 1 out of 2 people are going to be obese and 1 out of every 4 people are going to be severely obese. That is flipping scary. Okay, that is a dangerous path that we are walking towards, no pun intended. Okay. Now, when we look at other data, like large cohort studies, there was a study that was published in Lancet that took a look at 15 individualized cohort studies, and it divided people into 4 simple categories. People that walked about 3,500 steps per day, 5,800 steps per day, 7,800 steps per day, and just shy of 11,000 steps per day. There was a dose-dependent relationship between how much people walked and their all-cause mortality. So let's just get that out in the open. People that walked 5,800 steps per day were 40% less likely to die than people that walked 3,500 steps per day. People that walked 7,800 steps per day were 45% less likely to die, less risk of all-cause mortality. Okay, people that walked close to 11,000 steps per day, 53% less risk in all-cause mortality compared to the 3,500 step group. This isn't just to scare you, it's to really demonstrate that the simplest thing we can do is just walk. From a metabolic side of things, insulin resistance, all of this can dramatically be mitigated by moving our muscles. Now, resistance training definitely has its metabolic benefits when it comes down to improving insulin resistance and improving that. But we forget that walking is moving some of the largest muscles in our body, our glutes, our quads, our hamstrings, big muscles. And when we move these muscles, something miraculous happens. Okay, it doesn't just do healthy things for us. The simple contraction of these muscles sucks glucose out of the bloodstream without insulin even being required. Meaning that's giving the pancreas a break from having to pump out insulin while the cells in your legs are sucking glucose out of the bloodstream. That same glucose that's floating around the bloodstream potentially causing damage because it's elevated. So metabolically, it's a lot easier to get someone to walk than it is to get them to start resistance training. Start with walking. Oh, and by the way, there was another study that demonstrated if you just increase your step count 1,000 steps from where you are right now per day, you have a 12% less risk of all-cause mortality. 12% less chance of dying if you take the amount of steps you're walking today and increase that by 1,000. Now, there is a caveat. The upper end is like 17,000. After that point, it's a line of diminishing return. But walking also utilizes more fat as a percentage of fuel. Now, you can make the argument that if you go out for a run and you run for 60 minutes, you're going to burn more calories and ultimately burn more fat than you did walking for 60 minutes. And that is true. But as a percentage, walking is going to burn more fat as a percentage, which is definitely going to count for something huge, because you can walk for a long period of time. So that means like the longer that you walk at a low intensity, the more fat you are utilizing and less carbohydrates and other fuel you're utilizing. Meaning if you have the time to walk and just casually walk, you're going to burn a lot of fat and only fat and not break up nearly as much muscle, which brings me to my next point. Walking is very muscle sparing. So in the spirit of a thoughtful nod towards all the benefits of resistance training, clearly I resistance train, it's important. But in the spirit of that, how do we preserve that much muscle mass? We need to have a balance of high VO2 max activity where we're really stressing our cardiorespiratory system and making it stronger. But the lion's share of our caloric burn should come from simple walking and moving. It's going to be very muscle sparing. It's going to improve what's called angiogenesis. It's going to improve how you get more blood flow into the actual muscle area, making it so that that muscle can activate better and preserve better. Plus, the lower intensity is really, really, really good when it comes down to utilizing fats, which are going to spare muscle breakdown. Something that's very important is that when you're walking, you may not realize because you're not crazy sweating and things like that, that you are still burning through electrolytes. I did want to make that note. There's a link down below for LMNT, which are the electrolytes that I use. That link down below will get you a free sample pack, a free variety pack with any purchase. So I'm a big fan of the citrus salt. I love the mango chili and the lemon habanero. Those are really my jam. So that link is down below. It's drinklmnt.com/Thomas. So if you're going for a walk fasted, maybe you're not eating something, that's what I typically do. I'll just sip on some LMNT while I'm walking, and it almost feels like I'm drinking something I shouldn't be drinking. It feels really good. It doesn't have any artificial sweeteners, so it doesn't have any of the nasty stuff. It's just salt, potassium, magnesium, and some stuff that makes it taste a little bit good. So that link is down below in the description. The next reason is simple. It's non-concussive. It does not beat up your joints the way other things do. Do not get me wrong, I love hard things. I sprint a lot. I do intense cardio a lot, I do Metcons, I do it all. But again, if you were to look at my workout paradigm, say, what does Thomas spend the most of his time doing? The bulk of my active time is just walking. Because if I were spending the bulk of my active time running, I probably wouldn't have the joints that I have now. Okay, so being able to walk is good for muscle preservation, but it's also good for sparing your joints. The bottom line with it is you're not beating up your body. It's sustainable, and that really, really counts for something. And the last piece is it allows you to get the natural other things that need to come into your life. Vitamin D, sun exposure, low light gazing, all these things that affect our brain and affect our neurochemistry. That if we are segmenting our workout life and our regular life a bunch, then we don't get that. Because then we're compartmentalizing, we're having to spend all this extra time. Walking allows us to get it all done in one simple place. Go out for a walk, take your phone calls on a walk. Go out on a walk, take your dogs for a walk. Go out on a walk, get some space from your family for a minute if you need it. Go for a walk. Whatever you need to do, you can get your sunlight, you can get your low light gazing, which affects your sleep, you can get the metabolic effect, you can get the fat burning effect, you can get the glucose modulation effect, and you can get the angiogenesis effect that's probably gonna make you strong in the weight room as well. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.